Sure did. I noticed that.
Call the council meeting to order tonight. We have a quorum present. Tonight will be led in our prayer by Pastor Charles Ayers from First Presbyterian Church in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'd ask everyone to please rise.
I want to just be able to say thank you for the privilege of being here. I've been with my family here in Sioux Falls for about 4 months, so I'm new to the city and have been thoroughly enjoying myself. So thank you for all you do to kind of make it a pleasant environment for newcomers to come and be a part of. From Jeremiah chapter 21, Prophet Jeremiah says, "Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in the city's welfare you will find your welfare as well." And we know that as we seek God's guidance and live as fully as we can in benefiting the city, that God will bless that. And it is our welfare that comes to us as well. I would invite us to start with just a moment of silence. We come from a variety of places in a variety of ways. I would think just let the day settle out and God's Spirit to settle in. Lord God, we do thank you for your presence with us in everything that we do. We give you thanks for wisdom and strength, and pray your blessing on the mayor and the council and all the decisions that they will make this night. We give you thanks for the city of Sioux Falls and for the chance to be able to live in this place, to contribute the gifts and talents and energy that you provide us to make the city a place that is very livable and enjoyable to be a part of. And so we pray for all that you are doing and continue to do, and pray your blessing upon those who give their time this night to raise issues and concerns. Pray your blessing as well on the families that each of us represent, that you would guide and keep them as we are here deliberating what you would have for this city. And so in all ways, Lord God, we give you thanks. In the powerful name of Jesus the Christ, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's start out with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moved. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Further comments on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Knutson? Yes. Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted 7 yes, 1 excused. Consent agenda has been approved. Now, is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved, Jamison.
Jamison moved. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconded. Further comments on approving the regular agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the regular agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson? Yes. Litz?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Regular agenda has been approved, 7 yes, 1 excused. We're at the time now where we open the floor up to anyone that wishes to address the council for a period of 5 minutes. And what we ask is, as you come up, if you give your name and then your address. And so anyone wishes to come up and address the council for a period of 5 minutes at this time. I see no one that is coming forward at this time, so we will move into the regular agenda, and we will move into item number 19.
Deferred action, 2008 packaged liquor license renewal for Thrifty Smoke Shop, Inc., Thrifty Smoke Shop to be operated at 5101 West 12th Street with underage sales violations in 2006, 1, and 2007, 2.
Okay, Lori Hogstad with the City Finance Office. We have deferred action on this last renewal, and the reason for the deferral, we did not have anyone in attendance at the previous meeting of December 17th to address council questions on the underage sales. And there was 1 in 2006 and 2 in 2007. The stings in 07 were in October and December. As a result of that, if a business has 3 underage sales within a 24-month time period, that license will be suspended. However, that action cannot take place until the license is actually renewed, which is what they're before you for tonight. We do have the applicants in attendance for questions, if you'd like them to come up.
Are there questions of Lori on item number 19? Sure.
Lori, I'd like the applicant to come up and
Okay.
maybe explain their training
Sure.
sessions, please.
We have Dorian Kane and Chris Rand.
Christopher Rand, 8701 Delmar, St. Louis, Missouri.
Christopher, could you tell me a little bit about, you've got 3 issues that we've had to deal with over the last year and a half. Could you tell me if you've changed the way you've trained your staff or employees so that you can eliminate some of the issues that we're facing?
Yes, I have. I have instituted a number of changes. First and foremost, I've transferred our old district manager. And as of January 1st, I am now the acting district manager for all of our stores in Sioux Falls and in Rapid City. Another thing that we have done is all current and future employees will complete the TAMS Alcohol Awareness Program with our store manager who currently manages both the stores in the Sioux Falls area. He is going to get the instructor rating, so he will be able to provide training to all future employees.
Could you let us know if this is 3 different employees, or is this a same employee making the same mistake?
I believe it is the same employee making 2 of the mistakes, and then the first mistake in 06. I'm not entirely sure what employee made that.
Further questions? Kermit?
Yes, the employee that made the mistake in 2007, were they a new employee?
Yes, they were a new employee.
Are they still employed by you?
Yes, they currently are still employed by us.
And what additional training have you given them?
Since that time, he has completed the TAMS alcohol awareness program.
And was this not part of your program prior to this time?
Prior to this, in the South Dakota operation of our business, it hasn't been, but effective immediately, all current and future employees will be taking the TAMS alcohol awareness program.
And after the one that occurred in 2006, did you make any changes at that time?
I'm afraid I was not the district manager at that time, so I do not know.
And your local management, have they emphasized this type training?
Yes, our current manager, Dorian, he is in the process of completing his instructor certificate for the TAMS. So in future, we're going to not have this problem anymore by more training.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Not. Pat?
Lori, what you said that within 3 violations within a 24-month time results in an automatic suspension. What are exactly the details of that?
Well, I guess that would be information that we received from the Department of Revenue, and I just talked to him this morning just to find out about this particular one. And what he had told me was that until the license was renewed, they could not do anything. But with 3 violations within 24 months, I believe it's a 14-day suspension. Okay.
Further questions? Thank you.
I guess, Lori, is that in addition to the 7 days that we've deferred this?
Oh, that would be in addition. In fact, They'll probably not receive their license until later this week, probably the end of this week, because that comes from the State Revenue Department. We do not actually issue the licenses, so they will need to wait for that before they can sell. And then once, if indeed the renewal takes place tonight, then I'll notify the state the renewal has taken place, and then they will start the process by which they will notify them of a possible suspension. And there is kind of a hearing process that the applicants can contact the state if they wish. So as far as when that suspension would take place, it just depends on what process the applicant follows. But it will happen.
Thank you.
Further questions? None, thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council on item number 19? See no one. Okay. Name and address, please.
Dorian Kane, 612 East 4th Street, Del Rapids, South Dakota. I manage the stores now, and I just want to say the 3 employees who did make this mistake, it was 3 separate. They all have kids, and they all felt terrible. None of them did it on purpose. It was a honest mistake, not without repercussions, but it was just a mistake. I believe the new training should make it clear to them and give them the tools to avoid making the mistake again.
Questions?
I just have a question on, were you aware of the meeting, was it the 17th when we originally heard this?
I would like to apologize to the council. I had a small family emergency. I meant no disrespect by missing the meeting.
Further questions? None, thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council on item number 19? Seeing no one come forward, what's the wish of the council? Is there?
I move for approval. Costello.
Costello moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Knutson.
Knutson second. Further comments on the motion to approve item number 19? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of that motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
No.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Reluctantly, yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excused. Item 19 has been approved. Item 20.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Appendix B zoning ordinance by defining and setting standards for salvage operation. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services, along with Steve Randall tonight. This item that's before you is a proposed definition that we would like to add to our zoning ordinance. It's a new definition that really came about based on an item that was before you last year. North of the airport, there was a proposed use that was looking at relocating State Steel Company. And there was going to be an annexation and then a recommendation for moving forward with a zoning approval. After some discussions with the applicant and concerns that were expressed by the adjoining property owners and others about that location, that site has been withdrawn, and so we're not looking at considering that site at any time in the future. But as a result of those discussions, we realized that we really didn't have a good definition for that land use. It's really not a junkyard, and it's really not a recycling processing facility. So staff decided to come up with a new definition because we still anticipate at some point in the future that State Steel will want to find an alternative location somewhere either in the city of Sioux Falls or around our corporate limits within Lincoln or Minnehaha counties. And so this is a definition that we've come up with. Again, it's a definition that we believe clarifies that use, that it's somewhere between a recycling processing facility and a junkyard. And it's called a salvage operation, and there are standards that we would have to review on a case-by-case basis. The proposal is that this would be added as a conditional use in both the I-1 and the I-2 industrial zoning districts that we currently have in the city. The I-1 is more commonly referred to as the light industrial, and the I-2 as the heavy industrial. And the reason that we are recommending that we include that as a conditional use in both of those zoning districts is because it does give us some flexibility as to where we might consider an appropriate location for this new land use. And it does follow other similar types of uses in both zoning districts. As an example, currently in the I-1 district under conditional uses, we also have asphalt concrete plant, a ready mixed concrete plant, a solid waste transfer facility. So those are uses that would have to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. But also in the I-1, we have offices, like we have a number of office parks that the Development Foundation works with. So that zoning district has quite a variety of different uses that are allowed. But again, we believe that with the conditional use process, it does have to go through the public hearing. The adjoining property owners, the applicant can review that on its own merits, as well as the Planning Commission. And we can consider what impacts this use might have on surrounding property owners. So this has been reviewed by the Planning Commission and is being recommended for approval as a conditional use in the two industrial zoning districts that we currently have.
Questions of Mike D.
Mike, I apologize that I was not here last week to hear your other information, but in other cities in the Midwest, for instance, would this be typical for salvage operations to be allowed to be in the I-1 area? Is that the norm?
Well, I'm not sure. Yes, there are other communities that do allow this. In fact, we did research other communities in looking at drafting this definition.
Other questions of Mike on item number 20? Others that wish to address the council on item number 20?
Mayor and Councilors, Matt Bach with the Woods Fuller Schultz and Smith Law Firm, 300 South Phillips in Sioux Falls, South Dakota here. I was here before you when this issue with State Steel and getting the land rezoned and annexed. And of course, as Mr. Cooper said, the tension was with whether or not this was a recycling processing facility or a junkyard. And I guess the reason that distinction was important at that level is because a junkyard is only allowed in an I-2 industrial district, whereas a recycling processing facility is allowed in an I-1 or an I-2. So I think it is important that we have a definition for this type of operation. And as you can see from this picture, it is maybe more akin to a junkyard than a recycling processing facility. The key differences are that in the conditional use standards for a recycling processing facility, all of the processing must be done indoors. It can have some outdoor storage, but the standard says processing must take place in an enclosed area. That's not the case with this type of operation, where much of the operation and processing takes place outdoors. And so that's why it's more appropriate in an I-2, where it's not in a major thoroughfare, it's not in a business-type park, like where Citibank is currently zoned I-1. The new First Premier Bank location and Mid-Continent locations are zoned I-1. Those are the types of things that are on major thoroughfares, and we have those types of uses. That's what's been allowed thus far. This type of use is more appropriate off the major thoroughfares, and that can be described as an I-2 and more appropriate in an I-2 and limited, restricted to I-2 zoning designation. So the only objection we have to the ordinance is not to the definition as itself, it's to its allowance as a conditional use within the I-1. We would rather that part be stricken and it only be allowed as a conditional use within an I-2 zoning district.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much, Brett. Others that wish to address the council on item number 20? Is there?
Just a quick response. In addition to the proposed definition, with our conditional use standards that we're also asking you to consider tonight, the salvage business may be operated within a permanent building or within a yard enclosed by a solid fence, which must totally screen the salvage material from view of outside the property. And I think in the example that you saw tonight, that use has been around a long time, and obviously it would not comply with this current requirement. if they were to come back for approval at a new location, the standards would be different with this new definition and this new procedure.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval, Benninga.
Benninga moves. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconded. Further comments on that motion? Bob?
Mike, is there a limit as to how tall that fence would have to be? In other words, how high can you pile scrap metal?
Yes, we would look at what's a reasonable height, and again, in the example that you saw tonight, part of the reason that it is so high is because they're running out of room, and that's one of the reasons why they're looking at another site in the future. So yes, we would ask for a site plan that shows the outside storage, what the fence height would be, if it's going to be berms, landscaping. So screening doesn't necessarily have to be a fence, it could also be natural vegetation or berms.
Okay, thank you.
Further comments, Dean?
Mike, I've actually been struggling some on this issue, and I was wondering, what am I missing, like what exists right now or what would exist later in the future in another location, is that when it just doesn't look like that the piles go way too fast when they are that high. I mean, it doesn't, that's what I'm trying to say, is it doesn't look like much recycling is going on when we see photos like what exists right now. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm concerned that it does seem more like a junkyard to me than a recycling operation. I'm just struggling on this one.
Well, again, I don't know that it's fair to use that example, because if this ordinance is adopted tonight, there would be a totally different review process and an enforcement process for any future operations like that. And so, again, we would look at trying to develop a site that's suitable from an environmental standpoint and from the surrounding property owner's standpoint.
And I know that we have been discussing this topic for a while, and that's good. But I was wondering, so right now, does that operation meet our requirements?
They have been in violation in the past with the height of their material. Yes, and so.
And is there a penalty when they are in violation?
Yes, we've worked with them in the past, and their operation, in certain times they'll get a lot of material that comes in, and then other certain times of the year you'll see less material there. So it is an ongoing enforcement issue that we've had with them. And again, that's part of the driving force of them trying to come up with another location sometime in the future.
Further questions?
Again, I just want to reinforce that the proposed site north of the airport is not even a consideration with them in the future.
Further questions? Bob Jameson.
Mike, the argument for I-1 versus I-2, is I-1 appropriate for this type of operation? If there is other neighbors, how are the other neighbors going to make sure that we don't plunk a salvage yard in the middle of an office complex?
That's why it's a conditional use, because it would have to go through a public hearing with a site plan. That I-1 zoning district also allows as a conditional use asphalt concrete plants, ready-mix plants. If you go out on East Rice Street, that's all zoned I-1. So that's the same zoning as City Bank that was referred to earlier tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Got a motion been made and seconded to approve item number 20. Further comments, discussion from the council? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes. All members present voted 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 20 has been approved. Item 21.
An ordinance of the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Appendix B of the revised ordinances of the city by revising multifamily parking standards. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is another proposed amendment to our zoning ordinance that's being initiated by staff. And as we explained at first reading, we have seen more and more issues come before us where we have multiple buildings proposed on a lot with access by a private drive or a private street. And in order to work with the developers on meeting the parking requirements, this ordinance would allow parking within a required front yard adjacent to a private drive. And this is being done to help with emergency vehicle access as well as addressing of the individual buildings within this complex. It's an issue that has come up more and more, as I've said, and we put this together in consultation with the fire department, with Public Works on the street addressing, and we believe that this will be a better way of dealing with site plans in the future that have multiple buildings. And as I said before, the private drives or the private streets would be maintained by the property owners.
Questions of Mike on item number 21? Bob Jameson.
This is not being done in an effort to increase the density within an area?
No, this would not change the density at all.
Further questions of Mike on item number 21? Others that wish to address the council on item number 21? Is there a motion to approve by the council?
I so move Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 21, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 21 has been approved. Item 22.
Second reading, major amendment, 2007-11-16, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Chapter 15.45.070, Planned Development Districts, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised sub-area regulations and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls, North Career Avenue and West Cayman Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This property is part of the development called the Thieland Park Development. Lloyd Companies is the applicant in this case. This is approximately 6 acres of land that was originally zoned to allow for office development, and the request is now to change the use to allow multifamily residential development.
Questions of Mike on item number 22? Others that wish to address the council on item number 22? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Litz.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconded. Further comments on that motion to approve? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. That motion has been approved, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 22 has been approved. Item 23.
Second reading, rezone 2007-11-09, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 4201 South Minnesota Avenue from the institutional district to the general office district to allow for the future construction of a commercial office building and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This property is on the west side of Minnesota Avenue, south of the Big Sioux River, South Minnesota Avenue area. It's approximately 2 acres of land area that has gone through a number of different uses over the years. The site is currently vacant. The applicant is Miller Sellers Haro, and they are proposing this rezoning to allow for future redevelopment of this into an office use. A portion of the site is within our 100-year floodplain, and so the west side of the site will potentially be developed with a surface parking lot, and any building would have to meet our floodplain elevation requirements.
Questions of Mike on item number 23. Bob Jameson.
It's residential to the south of this piece of property and commercial to the north, if I remember correctly. What type of screening will be required, or any height restrictions on the office for that residential property?
The office zoning does have lower height restrictions than, say, a commercial or an industrial zoning district, and parking needs to be screened, so there are requirements within our ordinance that we would use to make sure it's a good buffer.
Vernon.
Mike, since it is in the flood zone there, what kind of building methods could be used to keep it out of that flood zone?
The portion that's in the flood plain, which is on the west side, at least the concept plan shows that the surface would be parking lot, and the building would actually be on an elevation, so it's almost like it's on stilts. It would be a second-level building elevation as opposed to being built on the ground level. At least the concept, that's what we've been looking at so far.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions of Mike on item number 23? Bob Litz.
Mike, I know the business to the north of it has somewhat of a levee. Is there any levee going to be built along here, or raised up along the river at all?
No, nothing that I'm aware of at this time.
Very good, thank you.
Further questions? Not others that wish to address the council on item number 23? Not, is there a motion to approve by the council?
Move to approve, Litz.
Litz moved, is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 23 will vote yes, those opposed vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 23 has been approved, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 24.
Second reading, rezone 2007-11-10, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at Santa Rosa Circle and East 73rd Street from the residential district to the Diamond Valley Plan Development District to allow for fourplex buildings and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is part of the Diamond Valley development, which is south of 69th and west of Cliff Avenue. The Dunham Companies is the applicant in this case, and this would amend the zoning for approximately 5 acres of land that was originally approved for twin homes, 11 lots that would be developed into 22 twin home units on a cul-de-sac. The property is surrounded to the north by multifamily. To the south is townhomes. On the east is future commercial office, and on the west is existing single-family residential. The applicant is now looking at changing the use to allow up to 4-unit buildings to be constructed on this cul-de-sac.
Questions of Mike on item number 24? Others that wish to address the council on item 24? Is there a motion to approve by the council?
Move to approve, Litz.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Benninger.
Benninger seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion to approve item 24, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 24 has been approved 8-0. Item 25.
Second reading, rezone 2007-11-11, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at Powder House Road, SD 100 and East 49th Street from the agricultural district to the institutional district to allow a church campus and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is the Eastside Baptist Church site. It's approximately 24 acres. It is located on the east side of current South Dakota Highway 11 and future South Dakota Highway 100 and south of 49th Street. The proposed rezoning would allow for future development of the church along with additional campus uses that would include a school and a daycare.
Questions of Mike on item number 25? Others that wish to address the council on item 25? Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moved. Is there a second?
Second, Benninger.
Benninger seconded. Further comments on that motion to approve item 25? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown? Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 25 has been approved 8-0. Item 26.
Second reading, rezone 2007-11-20, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1001 West 10th Street and 211 South Menlo Avenue from the residential district to the 10th and Menlo Plan Development District for a 5-unit townhouse development and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a vacant lot. It's actually multiple lots that are currently vacant that used to have some substandard housing, which was done demolished. The applicant is the Sioux Empire Housing Partnership, and the intent is to redevelop this vacant land into 5 townhome owner-occupied units. We have a concept plan that we'd be working with that include garages, some open space area, and I think we have a proposed elevation that shows what this might look like. The site is on the west side of Menlo and south of 10th Street. It's part of our neighborhood conservation area, and we believe that this would be a really good use for redevelopment parcel within this particular neighborhood.
Questions of Mike on item number 26. It will be noted that Council Member Bob Litz is excused from item 26. Further questions of Mike? Others who wish to address council on item number 26? Is there a motion by the council?
Move for approval, Benninga.
Benninga moved. Is there a second?
Brown seconds.
Brown seconds. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
All members present voted, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 26 has been approved. Item 27.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its sanitary sewer system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of the proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the sanitary sewer system revenue of the city to the payment of said sanitary system revenue bond, fixing the terms of such sanitary sewer system revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such sanitary sewer system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District.
Good evening, Chad Heavey, Office of Public Works, Engineering Division. This ordinance is associated with a clean water SRF loan to fund the following sanitary sewer collection system improvements: odor and corrosion control at 2 pump stations, new sanitary sewer pipe in 57th Street, 85th Street, and Marion Road, 2 sanitary sewer crossings of Interstate I-90, and then completion of Phase 3 of the Basin 13 sanitary sewer trunk improvements in Westport Avenue. Loan terms are 10 years at 2.5%. All projects have been approved and placed on the State Water Facilities Plan by the South Dakota Board of Water and Natural Resources. All projects are included in the 2008 to 2012 Capital Improvements Program and were included in the sanitary sewer rate study. At the first reading, I was asked if this was the last phase of Basin 13. It is the completion of Phase 3. There is a 4th phase, which will be in 2010. However, it will be constructed in an undeveloped area.
Questions of Chad on item 27? Others that wish to address the council on item number 27? Not?
Mr. Mayor? Question. Chad, when these projects and the next 2 that are coming up are in the CIP, do we budget for the full amount, or we budget for the payment on the bonds?
In the CIP, it's the total, we have the total balance in there of the total project. But when we look at our rates, the actual money we pay out each year goes into the rate study.
Okay.
Further questions of Chad on item 27? Others wish to address council? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval, Jameson.
Jameson moved. Is there a second?
Second, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 27, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 27 has been approved 8-0. Item 28.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its water revenue water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the drinking water system revenue of the city to the payment of said water system revenue bond, fixing the terms of such water system revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District.
This ordinance is associated with a drinking water SRF loan to fund the replacement of well 69 with a horizontal collector well. Loan terms are 10 years at 2.5%. This project has been approved and placed on the State Water Facilities Plan by the South Dakota Board of Water and Natural Resources. This project is included in the 2008 to 2012 Capital Improvements Program and was included in the water rate study.
Questions, Kermit?
Yeah, the last time we talked about it with the first reading, we had a consultant for the city talking about, the rainy wells, the horizontal wells were the most cost-effective. And then we also had a citizen that was on an advisory board coming and speaking, saying, no, that was not the most efficient way to do this, that we should have vertical wells. In our discussion last time, there was talk about that the vertical wells needed these buildings over them. And to the tune of about $250,000 per building over these vertical wells. And I asked the question about the vertical wells that we have now, how many actually have buildings over them? And I was just wondering, do we have that answer now?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And we have people that can come up and address your
Thanks,
questions.
Chad.
Good evening, Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. We did take a look at that, and we've got actually a sketch if we need to show that, but we've got, of the breakdown of the vertical wells that we have 36 vertical wells, and 15 of those have underground structures, and those underground structures are fairly large. They're 10 foot wide, 10 foot tall, and 20 feet long, and so there's a considerable structure that's underground, which now in our new guidelines, those force us to go into confined space training and a number of other items. It's also, we have to mound up over to, not only to get that area above the 100-year flood event. And so, again, with those structures, much easier to build those above ground as opposed to building underground vaults that are watertight and have a number of other concerns that come with them.
So we have less than half of the vertical wells with a building structure. So I guess the question might be raised, these 3 vertical wells that were compared with the 1 horizontal well, why do we need building structures for those when we have so many vertical wells without buildings?
Well, I think it's, as a water system's developed, Councilman Staggers, that the system has to be compatible with our system. We went through a number of iterations last time, and it was a healthy discussion. However, going forward, we have to build our wells that are compatible with our current system, and our current system has SCADA, has VFD drives. Those kind of features have to be in a structure.
Also, another question I have is, why did we have a consultant hired for this? Now, the reason I ask that question is because in our discussion last time we talked about, well, we already have rainy wells. We already have experience with rainy wells, the horizontal wells. We already have vertical wells. We have that experience. We know how these operate. We know the costs. Mm-hmm. So why did we have a consultant?
The reason we have a consultant is that we asked the consultant to write the facility plan, which was submitted to the DNR in September, which is for the drinking water loans. And so there was a number of projects that were addressed in the facility plan. And we need that technical expertise from an outside agency to make sure that our cost estimates are current with what's being constructed, but also to get that expertise for these very specific projects. And so that consultant was hired to write this facility plan, and they were gracious to work with us on these council items.
And how much did we pay for the consultant?
For the presentation last week?
Well, that and also for the report.
I don't have that tonight with me.
Okay.
I can certainly get it for you.
Oh, okay. That'd be great. Okay.
Further questions? Not. Others that wish to address the council on item number 28? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Litz.
Let's made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh seconded. Motion been made and seconded to approve item 28. Further discussion? Seeing no further, okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I guess we did have a good discussion last time around, and, it's really difficult to try to discern, what's the best way to go on this, because we've had an advisory board recommend unanimously not to do this. We had a citizen that spoke the last time when we had the first reading about this, that we shouldn't do this. It's just simply too expensive. The vertical wells are better. Also, since then, I've received correspondence affirming that the rainy well is just simply too expensive. But on the other hand, we did have the consultant saying that this was the best way to go. So it is really difficult, I think, for us on the City Council to know which way to go on this. So I guess in hearing all the information, I guess that I'm concerned that the rainy well, the horizontal well, it's going to be a good well, most likely. But I think that we might be engaged in just simply too extravagant spending. When we spend money, we don't necessarily have to have the very, very best of everything. And it seems like in recent years, we're getting the very, very, very best of everything. And, instead of getting a Rolls-Royce or Mercedes, maybe we ought to think about a Chevrolet, which can also do the same thing just as well. So, once again, this is a difficult decision to decide how to vote on this, but I think that we could probably save a lot of money by going another route, the vertical well route, instead of this horizontal well. So I would urge my colleagues to consider that. Thank you.
Further comments?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask Mark to come back to the podium, please? In response to the comments, it's my understanding that the DNR only approved the horizontal well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that is their choice. That is the reason we are pursuing this particular design and the design recommendation of the consultant, correct?
That's right. We looked at the alternatives. That's the requirement of the facility plan, and they supported us on that recommendation.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Well, I suspect people hear what they want to hear, but I guess what I heard from this extended discussion we've had about this is that the choice before us is a well system that is not a Cadillac. It's not the nicest, the fanciest. It's the most cost-effective for us in the long run. Is that not the case?
That's completely the case. I think one of the things we wanted to show was when we've got a well field that, is nearly 70 wells, we're not interested in adding another 3 or 6 wells. It gets to be something that's greatly to manage. Not only, we talked about all the other factors that come with it. It's the maximum amount of water with the least number of wells. That's what we're going for.
Further comments, Pat?
Mark, have we bid this project yet?
We have not.
How did we estimate? So we came up with a number based off the engineer's estimate?
Yes.
Historically, how close have they been in that?
Well, we don't bid very many of these, and so, I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head.
How many likely bidders will we have?
Probably one.
Probably one.
Kermit?
Yeah, I think we're going to get the bid from Lane Western, aren't we, probably? I think they're the ones that, this is their specialty, and so we'll just get one bid. But in regard to the DENR, the DENR did not have an option of picking the rainy well or the vertical. We submitted just the rainy well, didn't we?
We submitted the facility plan that looked at both sides, and they also have the East Dakota Water Board look at those applications. Yes. And you heard from one of the members last time that she didn't support it.
It was unanimous by that board.
However, it went up to the DNR that they also work with us on a number of projects, know the capacity and the science behind both types of wells, and supported us in that
But our
recommendation.
proposal was for the rainy well.
Absolutely.
It wasn't for, well, DENR, we want you to decide between rainy well or vertical. Our proposal was for the rainy well. And so they went along with what the city wanted here. They did not go along with the recommendation of the advisory board because they really weren't presented with that proposal.
Well, I think, one of the things that as we look at developing and maintaining the well field, it's not our philosophy to go out and buy large tracts of land and populate them with a number of wells to get the water that we need. It's the smaller footprint of land that we can have. We've got an existing well that we have access to, we have power to. We're going in, we're taking one vertical well out, and we're putting in one optimum horizontal collector well. And that's our recommendation.
Mark, I'm with you on the engineers and the design of the well and everything, but how is it possible we can only have one bidder? I mean, is it the complication of drilling these or building them, or what? How is that possible?
Just let me step away and get that history real quick. Thank you. The two main companies that did this, Reynolds and Collector Wells International, just merged probably within the last 18 months. So that's why we always had two bidders. Now we have one.
Further comments? We've got the motion. Gerald?
Just one more question. If I remember right, the lifetime usage of one versus the other is significantly different. Could you just reiterate what those numbers were?
From at least some of the performance that we've got, we had some that went in the 1950s that are still very good wells for the city. We also had, and again, we talked about 20% of our wells produce 62% of our water. That's the style of well. We've got a number of vertical wells that were installed in the 80s that have now either been greatly reduced in capacity. Some are not operating today because they don't produce enough for us to continue to use them. And so if we look at, in general aspects, there is vertical wells that will last a strong period of time. But we can see if we had some installed in the late 80s and we're already to a point that we have to replace those, when we've got a proven system of wells that can last up to 50 years and greater, that to us is our recommendation to you for today's ratepayers and the future.
Mark, I don't have that presentation that was given last time in front of me, but when was the last time we built one of these wells, and how much did we pay for it, do you recall?
I'll have to get that just a minute. We did the last one. We started in 2002 and completed it by 2004, and it was $1.6 million.
Further comments? We got a motion that's been made and seconded to approve item 28. Further discussion? Not all in favor of approving item 28 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted, 7 yes, 1 no. Item 28 has been approved. Item number 29.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the drinking water system revenue of the city to the payment of said water system revenue bond, fixing the terms of such water system revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District.
This ordinance is associated with a drinking water SRF loan to fund the following water distribution system improvements: valve replacements, air base water main improvements, Western Heights water main replacements. Loan terms are 10 years at 2.5%. These projects have been approved and placed on the State Water Facilities Plan by the South Dakota Board of Water and Natural Resources. These projects were included in the 2008 to 2012 Capital Improvements Program and were included in the water rate study.
Questions of Chad on item number 29? Others that wish to address the council on item number 29? Not, is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves, is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconded. Further comments on that motion to approve item 29? If not, all in favor of that motion will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present and voted. Item 29 has been approved 8-0. Item 30.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the drinking water system revenue of the city to the payment of said water system revenue bond, fixing the terms of such water system revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such water system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District.
This ordinance is associated with a drinking water SRF loan to fund backwash handling, basin improvements, and filter improvements at the water purification plant. Loan terms are 10 years at 2.5%. This project has been approved and placed on the State Water Facilities Plan by the South Dakota Board of Water and Natural Resources. This project was included, or is included, in the 2008 to 2012 Capital Improvements Program and was included in the water rate study.
Questions of Chad on item number 30?
Chad, just a quick question. What's the longevity of this upgrade to the water purification plant?
The filter upgrades will provide filtration of the water.
How many years are we
Up to
talking?
2027 flow.
Okay.
Further questions, Chad? Not others that wish to address the council on item number 30? Not, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Brown.
Brown moves, is there a second?
Second, Benninger.
Benega seconded. Further comments on the motion to approve? Not, all in favor of that motion will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello? Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 30 has been approved 8-0. Item 31.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations for CIP number 004028, Main Library renovation and expansion.
Good evening. Sally Felix, Siouxland Libraries. This is a request for a $1.5 million supplement to the CIP project for the Main Library renovation and expansion. I think it's important to remember and for you to know that the original architect's estimate that we were working with for budget purposes was done a year ago. And that was right after we did the public design charrette and came up with a concept for the building. But we still had a lot of work to do in what is called the design development stage, which was to work out all the many details about how the building would look, how it would function, what all the systems needed to be, and that type of thing. And as we went through that process, we discovered that the architects made certain assumptions about the project, and those assumptions were built into their original cost estimates. And we changed a number of items as we went through our design development process. So that has resulted in a cost estimate that has increased, at this point. And of course, as we all know, the cost estimates are just that until the bids come in. I did email out to all of you a couple of weeks ago a list of what went into that $1.5 million. I'll just go over that briefly for you and maybe try to clear up any questions or so forth you may have. The biggest, construction accounts for the largest share, about $1.3 million. Updating the costs for furniture, fixtures, and equipment is about $107,000, and then about $82,000 in engineering and design services. The biggest item under construction is actually changes that we asked the architect to do from a design perspective on the exterior of the building. I know I've shared this with the mayor. I'm not sure I've shared it with the council, but there actually is an architectural name for our main library building, and it is from the Brutalistic School of Architecture. And I say that because it is kind of brutal. You can understand where that came from, with all the hard surfaces and all the kind of cold feeling that you get from the building itself. I think our architects were initially interested in furthering that brutalistic style, and we said no, we didn't really want to do that, because that was one of the things we were trying to do with the exterior of the building, is to soften it up, make it more attractive, try to minimize the concrete. And so in that process, they came up with what we think is a really interesting design development, which allows us to do that. The current exterior of the building, the brick exterior, will stay. We are not doing anything to that brick exterior. But what we would like to do is to, instead of just continuing brick all the way around on the expansion, we want to do what is called a panel system, and that would allow us to add not color, well, it is color, but it certainly would be kind of a bronzy type color that would work with the brick, but would give it a little bit softer and more modern look. And to try to think of buildings around town that are kind of like that would sort of be on the order of how they did the front entrance to the new federal courthouse. And we're not looking at that gray aluminum color. We're looking at colors that go with the brick and would look nice with the brick. We also, as you may remember, have a very interesting design element on the southeast corner of the library, which is going to be a new part built onto it that is all glass, and it's a reading area. So we wanted to try to complement on the other end, on the north end of the building, we wanted to try to again work in a design element that made it, yes, it is the main library we've had since 1972, but again, we wanted to try to add some new design elements to it. So that accounts for about $408,000 in that first line. The other thing that we talked to the architects about doing on the exterior was covering the concrete. No, I'm sorry. Covering the concrete is about $408,000. The wall system is around $272,000. But we really felt that all of the concrete, we have so much concrete on the outside and so much concrete on the inside of that building, and we really wanted to try to minimize the concrete. So we asked them to come up with some ideas about that, and that is one of the things that we would like to be able to do with the supplement. That is $408,000. It's expensive. We have a lot of concrete to cover, but we really feel that obviously the library needs to function as a library, but we also want it to look as nice as it can as a public building. We were concerned particularly also with the north end of the library and the side that faces Main Avenue, that we do something from a design perspective that looked nice as people were coming down Main Avenue and wasn't just more brick going all the way around. You know, those are aesthetic kinds of things. They're how a public building looks, how it can enhance the downtown neighborhood, and the kind of development that, you know, we're seeing already, particularly to the north of the library. Going on the inside, we were planning, and the architects were planning for a raised floor system. It's called an access flooring system, so that when it comes time to switch out the very many things that we have to do from an electronic perspective and others, we have an easy ability to do that because it would be a raised floor and it's quite easy to do that. They were not planning to do that under the addition. And we felt, looking toward the future, because they're not building it just for today, and I know some of the concern has been, are we building something that really is going to be lasting for the future? We felt for the greatest flexibility and for the future, we wanted them to extend that to the addition as well. Another aesthetic kind of issue, if you can think about the main reading room in the library, it has, of course, a very high ceiling, and it's called a waffle-type ceiling because it does look like a waffle. And the idea that the architects had was to just extend that waffle ceiling in all areas then of the new library. And we said, well, we really would like to have, again, that's kind of a whole cold, harsh architectural element that we would like to try to soften something up. So they came back and said that they thought, a wood ceiling both in the entryway and the lobby area and back through the circulation area, as well as in the main reading room, would be, a good architectural element and architectural design. I don't think they really understood the level and the need for security, both inside and outside the building. So we did add quite a few things, both for our customers and for our staff in terms of security. Our IT infrastructure is quite complex, certainly throughout the whole city, and that's certainly true in the main library. Again, I think they underestimated what those needs are. And we, of course, have already talked about the need to, or the desire, and I think it's not just desire, I think it's smart planning, and as I know some of you do as well, to not build a second floor, but to build it so that we can have a second floor in the future. And then we also ran into some fiber cable issues. There is fiber cable that goes from City Hall through the library up to the Law Enforcement Center, sort of an important tie there. And then also a transformer, an electrical transformer has to be removed. Now that was on the exterior. And City Light Department will buy the transformer, but we need to pay for supplies. So these were some of the things that came up that were changed. And we changed many other things as well. Most of them have been able to be absorbed within those original cost estimates. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment, we updated that. I mean, there's a whole range of things from furniture and shelving and computers and clocks and book trucks and carts and a whole range of things that fall within that. And then in engineering and design services, I did originally have money in the operating budget for the bid package preparation for all of the furniture and equipment, and that was not the appropriate place for that to be. So that is in this as well.
Questions of Sally on item number 31? Pat?
Sally, if we were to accept the way and not do the cover the exterior concrete of the library, I assume the rest of the bit we would build it as is, or similar to the style that it is right now.
Yes, that's correct.
And that's $480,000 to do that?
To cover the concrete is about $408,000. That's covering the concrete, 408 to cover concrete, and then to do the panel wall system is about 272.
And then to stick with the waffle ceiling and not do the wood entry, we would save $150,000?
Yes, we would not be spending that money to do that. That's correct.
Further questions, Kermit?
So, Sally, I was trying to add these figures really fast. So aesthetics is about $930,000?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and add. I don't have them added up that way.
Yeah. In the CIP itself, what is the, right now, without this supplement, what is the cost for the library addition?
The 2008 appropriation for the main library project is $10,347,532.
And then is there 2009, is there any money in there for 2009?
It's all in 2008.
Okay.
Now, we spent money in 2007 as well.
And so what is the total then?
Of 2000 and 2007 and 2008, as it's currently budgeted, it's $11,346,000, rounding it.
Okay. So then we just add another 1.5 million.
That's correct, yes.
About 12.8.
About 12.8, that's correct.
Further questions?
Sally, I don't know if you can answer, maybe Gene, but under the resolution, it says that the money is going to come from unreserved fund balance. Is that our general fund that we track with the percentage, or is there an unreserved fund balance in the CIP fund as well?
Gene Roanhorse, Director of Finance. That's coming out of the unreserved fund balance of the CIP, second penny.
Further questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 31? Not, is there a motion to approve?
Or just for the hearing, right?
First reading. Just first reading, that's right. So all we do, is there a motion to set the hearing date for January 14th for item 31?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves, there a second?
Second, Jamison.
Jamison seconded. Further questions? All in favor of that motion to set the hearing date for January 14th for item 31 will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present have voted. The hearing date has been set for January 14th for item 31. Let's go to item 32.
A resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gift to the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Department a paratransit bus.
Again, Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. The city maintains a fleet of 22 paratransit vehicles. And through our agreement with the Federal Transit Administration, those vehicles are surplus on a 6-year cycle. We do receive 80% federal funds to replace those vehicles. In the past, we have donated vehicles that are surplus to the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Department, and they are used to transport inmates for community service jobs. We are in the process of replacing 8 of our 22 paratransit vehicles, and the County Sheriff's Department would like to request a donation of one of those. The previous vehicles that we did donate are no longer operational. And again, this is a request by the County Sheriff's Department that we are proposing to you tonight for your consideration.
Questions of Mike on item number 32? Others that wish to? Kermit?
Yeah, Mike, I was just curious, when we buy these paratransit buses new, about how much do they cost now?
It's, the new vehicle is approximately $84,000, of which 80% is federal funds.
Further questions of Mike? Others wish to address the council on item number 32? Not, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval, Jamison.
Jamison moved, is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Bennigan seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown? Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 32 has been approved 8-0. Item 33.
A resolution amending the future land use map as part of the Sioux Falls 2015 Growth Management Plan at North Powderhouse Road and East Madison Street from an allocation of future single-family land use to an allocation of commercial, office, institutional, multifamily, residential, and parks and open space future land uses. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This property is approximately 80 acres, and it's on the north side of East Madison Street and on either side of North Powderhouse Road. The applicant is Brian Bauer, representing Canterbury Heights East LLC. This development is proposed to be a combination of future commercial, office, and residential, along with drainage areas. When the original 2015 plan was established and approved by the City Council, we did show smaller portions of this property would be future commercial and multifamily residential. There are 3 things that have changed since that plan was initially approved by the City Council. Number one is that we have now the South Dakota Highway 100 proposed alignment, which would extend through the middle of this area. Number two, we now have developed additional access standards along arterial streets. And then third is that there's an existing significant drainage way that needs to be preserved along the north side of this property. And so the developers, in working with staff, have come up with a new land use concept that shows approximately 40 acres. On either side would be commercial, on either side of the future South Dakota 100. And the balance would be office, residential, and then future drainage way.
Questions of Mike on item 33? Bob Litz.
Mike, is this at Madison and the future Highway 100, is this going to be one of our new design plans for commercial, much like we did with Van Buskirk out on last time we met with?
Yes, this is another area that we would like to work with the developers on, more of a mixed-use, walking neighborhood type concept that I think they're excited about working with us on that type of a development concept.
Thank you, Mike.
Further questions of Mike on item number 33? Others who wish to address the council on item number 33? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Let's
moved. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconded. Further comments on the motion been made and seconded? Not all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 33 has been approved 8-0. Item 34.
A resolution amending the future land use map as part of the Sioux Falls 2015 Growth Management Plan at northeast corner of the intersection of East 57th Street and Sycamore Avenue from an allocation of future single-family land use to an allocation of commercial and multifamily future land uses. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This property is approximately 62 acres of land, and it's located on the north side of East 57th Street and the east side of the new alignment of Sycamore Avenue. The applicant is Darrell Vierick. This property was previously allocated for a combination of single-family, multifamily, and neighborhood commercial. The current owner is now looking at the market for development within this area and has come up with a new concept, which is being considered tonight as a land use amendment. And that would include approximately 12 acres of future commercial at the intersection of Sycamore and 57th. The balance of the property would be designated for townhomes, 4-unit building townhomes, as well as a future multifamily apartment area. And again, this is being presented tonight as an amendment to the land use plan, and if it gets approved, the developer would come back through with a rezoning request for further consideration.
Questions of Mike on item number 34? Bob Jameson.
Mike, back to the slide that you had previously. Isn't that little triangular-shaped piece on the corner there would be the west side of Sycamore? Is that not zoned commercial also, that little triangle, or that little square?
There's a small portion of it, and then there's also a drainage area, detention pond on that side.
But it shows here as residential, if I'm looking at the color coding correctly.
Yes, it is part of a planned development zoning district that does allow future commercial uses.
Okay.
So we'll correct that on our map here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions, Mike, on item 34? Others that wish to address the council on item 34? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Let's.
I second that motion, Knutson.
Let's move. Knutson seconded. Further comments on that motion? Not all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted 8 yes. Item 34 has been approved. Item 35.
A resolution establishing a salary program that maintains a market competitive salary range with a pay for performance program for the appointed position of city clerk commencing on January 14, 2008.
Good evening, Deborah Owen, City Clerk. What you have before you is a resolution that has been drafted by the HR Department, regarding the COLA adjustment for the City Council appointed position of City Clerk. Both of this resolution and the following resolution, Council takes action in a public meeting to give your appointed employees the COLA adjustment. Mayoral appointed employees receive their COLA adjustment by executive order.
Questions of Deborah on item 35? Others? Pat?
Deborah, what was the COLA adjustment specifically?
The last few years are 3%, and the last few years they've been uniform throughout both all of the unions and the appointed. I think before that those were different amounts, and HR could tell you what those were, but generally the last few years they've always been 3%.
Further questions? Not. Others who wish to address the council on item number 35? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 35, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 35 has been approved 8-0. Item 36.
A resolution establishing a salary program that maintains a market-competitive salary range with pay for performance program for the appointed position of lead internal auditor and internal auditor commencing on January 14, 2008.
Deborah Owen, City Clerk. Again, this is the other two appointed positions that are on the council's legislative branches department, if you will. And this, again, is the COLA adjustment for the internal audit, both appointed positions. That's 3%.
Questions of Deborah on item 36? Not. Others who wish to address the council on item 36? Motion to approve.
So moved. Jameson.
Jamison moves. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconded. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 36 has been approved 8-0. Item 37.
A resolution approving the 2008 audit program.
Rich Oakso, lead internal auditor for the city of Sioux Falls. According to our internal audit charter, we have to have the annual audit program approved by the city council by resolution. The audit program was discussed and approved by the audit committee and is presented for your consideration. We have a rather ambitious list of audits to do this year, and also some projects, and also our routine procedures that we typically do each year. If you have any questions, I will be happy to take those at this time.
Questions of Rich on item 37? Others that wish to address the council on item 37? Motion to approve.
Move for approval. Benega.
Benega moves. Is there a second?
Second, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh seconded. Further comments on that motion to approve? Bob James?
Just a comment, Rich. How about a brief rundown on what that audit will entail, or what you have set up for the program?
For 2008 here?
Yes, I think the public.
Okay,
would
for
like to
the
know that.
public? Okay. The audits that we have scheduled, in no particular order, we haven't scheduled these, but we're going to look at accounts payable citywide, accounts payable process. We're going to look at the payroll process citywide. The Sioux Falls Convention Center Management Agreement, we have a new contractor, Global Spectrum, and they're in the first year of their contract. After they've been in place about 12 months, we'll do an audit of that contract compliance. We're going to look at revenue and cash handling at 4 different city offices. We're going to look at budget adjustments and transfers of appropriations to see if they're in compliance with city charter. Looking at water distribution, the internal controls over the water distribution system. Each year, we're going to try to look at a revenue source, a major revenue source, to make sure that we're getting the revenue that's maximized and that the city is protected against loss. This year, we want to look at property taxes, which is a major source of revenue. We have a contract with Laidlaw Transit Services to manage the transit system. This will be a compliance audit of that contract. We have a contract with Dakota Golf Management to manage the 3 municipal golf courses. We'll do a compliance audit of that contract as well. And also, SMG has a contract to manage the Sioux Falls Arena. I believe 2008 is the final year of that contract. We're going to do a compliance audit of their contract to manage the arena. We're going to look at a sample of disbursements, salary, pension payments, general disbursements, and miscellaneous to make sure that all disbursements were proper, supported, correctly recorded, et cetera. We have an audit scheduled for donated money. The city receives from time to time donations from individuals, from families, from other organizations that give funds to the money for a specific purpose. Sometimes these amounts are very small, sometimes they're quite large, but it's important no matter what the amount that we have proper controls over that. We'll make sure that that money is being appropriately recorded, controlled, and spent for the purpose that it was intended. And also, we have a surplus auction sale every September of surplus property. We're going to look at that annual auction sale. And another thing that's new this year, we're going to send one of our auditors to training on construction audits. We're going to try and look at every construction audit over $1 million. We have several large projects this year with the library, with the water plant expansion. Those will be specific audits of those specific construction contracts. The city is starting a performance measurement system this year, which we've obviously talked about. We're going to be providing assistance to the city departments with their performance measurement system. These won't be audits, these will be assists, so that the first year they get off on a good start, that the controls are in place, do some data verification, and that they have a good system in place. In subsequent years, we'll present reports to you where we would go out and certify those performance measures, that those performance measures are good. But the first year, we'll just be doing an assisted. And, of course, we talked about the fraud hotline at the 4 o'clock meeting today. When calls come into the fraud hotline that we need to investigate, we'll be doing that. And also, when special projects come up, they'll be presented to the audit committee for consideration, things that we hadn't anticipated. In 2007, we had a case where we were asked by the city attorney's office to look at the contract with the Sheraton to manage the convention center. So we may have those come up from time to time, that we have a special project. And if you want to see the 2008 audit program, if you go to the city's website, siouxfalls.org, look for City Council, and then look for Audit Committee. We'll have that posted probably sometime this week, so that any members of the public, if they want to see what's on the audit schedule, they can look there.
Questions? Thanks, Rich. Got a motion made and seconded. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 37 has been approved 8-0. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Kavanaugh moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Benninga seconded. All in favor of the motion to adjourn will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Benninga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
We stand adjourned.